Hola todos, ¿qué tal? Soy Erika, bienvenidos a mi canal. Today we'll be talking about el imperativo negativo, how to give negative commands in Spanish. So, bueno, vamos a empezar con un repaso. We're going to start with a quick review of the affirmative imperative, so how to give positive commands. So if you haven't already seen that video, I'll leave the link in the description down below, but we'll do a really quick repaso. Después, la conjugación del imperativo negativo, los verbos irregulares y, como siempre, un poco de práctica. Y bueno, si te gustan mis videos, por favor, suscríbete. If you like my videos, please subscribe. And without further ado, let's get started. So, entonces, un repaso. Okay, so el imperativo es usado para dar órdenes y consejos. So, the imperative is used to give commands, and sometimes like advice. So, here I have algunas frases con el imperativo. El primero, so we have the verb comer. Okay, so I'm saying come la empanada, eat the empanada. So to conjugate it in the two, for two, I just conjugate it as if it's the third person, so like él or ella. So I would say like come la empanada. For hablar, habla español. Y repetir, repite por favor. Okay, these are like all commands, and you can see it's for the two, but it looks like the third person. Okay, for vosotros, super easy. All you gotta do is add a D to that, and it's for vosotros. Okay, your work is done. So I have comed la empanada, so like all of you eat the empanada. Hablar español, all of you guys hablar español, talk Spanish or speak Spanish. Y repetir, repite, por favor, like all of you, repeat yourself, please. Okay? Okay, ahora los verbos irregulares. So we have decir. So these ones are kind of only weird for the to form. For the vosotros form, all you got to do, cross out the R and replace it with a D. Okay, so vosotros for verbos irregulares is pretty simple. Okay, so we have decir, we have di, decir, hacer, haz, hacer, poner, pon or ponen, salir, salir, ser, sé y sed, tener, ten, tener, venir, ven, venir, ver, ve, ver, and ir, ve, ir. And yes, these two last ones are the same for the two. And how you would know what someone's talking about, you would look at the context, okay? Bueno, okay. Ahora a la conjugación. ¿Cómo se conjuga el imperativo negativo? Okay, so the first thing que tienes que hacer es poner no, all right? Como siempre en español, cuando algo es negativo, cuando no hago hace algo, cuando no hago algo. Oh my goodness, my Spanish today. Okay, when I don't do something, I add the no right in front of it, as always, okay? That's the first step. The second step, this might seem a little complicated, but I'm sure you're going to master it in no time. So, for AR verbs, conjuga como ire en el presente indicativo del tú. So, if you have an AR verb, let's look at this. I have tocar. How I make it a negative command, I plug in the no, and then instead of conjugating it like no tocas, I pretend it's an ER verb and I'll conjugate it like that. So I'll go toques. So no toques, all right? You might be noticing here why there's a QU, and that's because if I had the C with the E there, it's going to make it sound like no toses, all right? And I don't know what that is, okay? So that's why you put the QU, just to keep that hard K sound, okay? But let's look at aprender, okay? So para los verbos ir y ir, conjuga como AR en el presente indicativo del tú. Okay, so if it's an ER or IR verb, we're going to conjugate it like it's an AR verb. So if I have aprender, it goes to aprendas, right? So no aprendas, don't learn, which is terrible advice. But as you can see, it's an ER verb, but I'm conjugating it as an AR verb with the as at the end, okay? Let's look at algunos ejemplos. Entonces aquí tengo algunos verbos de R. Entonces, acabar, que significa to end, would be no acabes, so like don't end. Ayudar, no ayudes. Okay, it's not ayudas, it's ayudes. They have E's, right? Bailar, no bailes. Okay. Ahora los verbos ERs, como ves, hay los, the endings are all as. So comer, no comas. Beber, no bebas. Correr, no corras. Ir, we have dormir, so no duermas. So I'm conjugating as usual. I'm just switching it to an AS ending. Insistir, no insistas. Escribir, no escribas. ¿Vale? Okay. Let's go to the vosotros now. This might seem a little complicated, but it's not too bad. Okay, if you know what the subjunctive is, by the way, this is basically just a subjunctive. If you don't know what it is, no worries. I'm going to teach you really quick right now. So how to conjugate for the form vosotros to talk to more than one person. So step 1, conjugate your verb into the yo form, present tense, and drop the o. So for this example, we're going to use the verb aprender, which is to learn. So I have aprender, lo conjugo al yo, que es aprendo, y después quito el o, y tengo aprend, ¿ok? Segundo paso, add the vosotros ending for the opposite type of verb, okay? So it's that same idea where we're just switching the endings. So for AR verbs, at this point, I'm going to add ace, okay, the E-I-S. For ER and IR verbs, I'm going to add the ice, okay? So it's like I conjugate to the O form, and then the ending is for vosotros, but I switch it, okay? Let's look at the examples, and then you'll understand quite quickly, okay? I'm sure. So we have aprender, and then that was my last step, so I add the AR ending, right? So it goes aprendáis, and then no aprendáis, that's it. So don't learn, all of you, okay? So no aprendáis, okay? Let's look at some more examples, and then I think you'll get the hang of it. So again, here I have my steps for you. We have aprender, goes to aprendo, get rid of that, switch out for the other type of vosotros ending, okay? So again, for ER and IR verbs, it's going to look like ace, or ice, sorry, and for AR verbs, it will be ace, okay? So para comer es no comáis, hablar no habléis, vivir no viváis, bailar no bailéis, abrir no abréis, leer no leáis, y escribir no escribáis, okay? All right, let's take a look now at los irregulares. So for these, my biggest advice if you're learning this, just practice, okay? Because it's a pattern, so eventually it'll become a lot more familiar to you. All right, ahora los verbos irregulares. So these ones, it kind of follows the same idea with like you take it in the yo form and then you just switch the ending to match out or to match with it. So for example, let's take tener, okay? So these ones are all ending in s's as well, and we're just switching the ending to match like with the other type of verb. So an ER verb is going to have an s ending, and AR verb is going to have an ES ending as well, okay? But the difference in these ones from the other one is we're taking like the yos, we're doing it with the yo and switching it, kind of treating it like that vosotros one. Okay, let's take a look. My also advice is if you're learning this, just memorize them. It's like you'll see a pattern eventually, but if you're first learning it, just try to memorize and eventually you'll start to understand the pattern, okay? All right, so we have tener, we have no tengas, that's tú, y vosotros no tengáis, poner, no pongas, and then no pongáis. So the yo form of poner is pongo, right? So I'm just taking the yo and I'm switching out the ending for the AR verbs. So no pongas, no pongáis, decir, no digas, no digáis, hacer, no hagas, no hagáis, ir, no vayas, no vayáis, ser, no seas, no seáis, and estar, this one is just a little weird, no estéis, no estéis, okay? So you have the E with an accent. If you know what the subjunctive is, these are just basically the subjunctives, okay? So yeah, once we get to subjunctives, you guys are going to be masters at it, okay? All right, let's go to some práctica ahora. So I'm treating this like I do with my Spanish classes. I'm going to give you un poco de tarea. So imagínate. So eres un o una profesor. Tienes que enseñar tus estudiantes de las reglas de la clase. So you need to teach your students about some rules in the class. Escríbeme 3 reglas usando el imperativo negativo. So write me like 3 words talking about, or 3 words, 3 like rules that you don't want your students to do in your class. So for example, no hables mientras estoy enseñando. Don't speak while I'm teaching. Okay, so this is going to make you practice that negative imperative. Write me 3 in the comments down below. I can check them for you. Y bueno, that's the video, okay? Entonces, espero que han disfrutado y nos vemos en el próximo. Leave me any recommendations if you have them. And once again, please consider subscribing. Bueno, okay. Adiós todos. Ciao.